Welcome, Dr. Miaken Ziegler of Monarch Family Chiropractic, and welcome to tonight's workshop. We are talking about headaches and how headaches are not normal. I can't tell you how many people who come into our practice when we're taking a health history, they've checked that they experience headaches, and we get into the conversation. Well, tell me about your headaches. How regular, how frequent do you have them? And they will share, well, it's not that often, maybe once a week or twice a week, or, a high frequency of headaches that they are normalizing as just part of their, day-to-day life. And if you're getting headaches on a weekly basis or headaches on a bi-weekly basis, I mean, that's 5,200 plus headaches a year. It's pretty significant. And so when things are regularly occur, when we see it happening to massive amounts of people, it becomes normalized. And just because something is common does not mean it is normal. And so if you have headaches are not normal. Okay. So let's get into it. So most common form of pain are headaches. And a major reason that people miss work or out of work or school because they're visiting a doctor is due to headaches. And if something lasts longer than 3 months, it is considered chronic, right? So a lot of us think chronic has to be years or decades. But if it's 3 months in duration, you are experiencing chronic pain. And I like to define a headache as, energy crisis to the brain, both neurological and vascular. Okay. It's a brain that is stressed. And if your brain cells are in an energy crisis, it could lead to a degenerative state to the brain. Okay. And that kind of sounds scary. A degenerative stress to the brain, if this is happening on a regular basis. So let's talk about possible causes. Excessive eating, drinking, or smoking, indirect symptom of eye strain. So if we're at a computer all day, or it's poor lighting, or we need to make sure we, have proper eyewear, or the font is too small, that can cause headaches. Improper diet or food intolerances, stress, poor sleep, hormonal imbalances. A lot of times we see women around their cycle can have headaches, but men, we also see there can be hormonal imbalances with headaches. Poor posture, spinal disturbances. In rare cases, it can be related to a brain tumor or stroke or diabetes, but that is a much smaller percentage than majority of headaches. And a lot of times when you're talking about those rare cases where it's a bigger concern, it is a headache like you've never experienced before. I mean, that is some of the verbiage that we are taught in compliance. And as chiropractors, when somebody is describing a pain they have never experienced before, that is a red flag. Okay, but that is more of an exception than what we see in the vast majority of people. And just to further provide you with some evidence around taking headaches seriously is this research out of Harvard. Migraines may permanently change your brain structure. Okay. So the question was, migraines, can dementia, stroke, or heart attack be next if you are somebody who experiences migraines? And it says, after increased blood pressure, migraine with an aura. So an aura is, something you see. Sometimes it's a light or just a change in your vision. Sometimes you have an aura that is coupled with a migraine. So if you have migraine with an aura, that's the second strongest single contribution to a risk of heart attacks and strokes after high blood pressure. And the results of this study showed that migraines with aura increase the risk of white matter brain lesions by 68%. Migraines with no aura increase the risk of 34% compared to those without migraine. And the risk for infarct-like abnormalities, which is a stroke, increased by 44% with those with migraines with an aura compared to those without. So if you are experiencing headaches and migraines, it is not normal. And this is something that is in the making years and decades. later where we're getting to, dementia, stroke, heart attack, that's something we should be worried about if somebody's experiencing migraines with an aura. This study here, the next slide we're going to go to, this was 68,000 women with a history of migraines, was associated with an increased risk of multiple sclerosis. So again, we're talking about changes of the brain, degeneration of the brain. Okay, so I think when we see some of these research studies, it's scary. And I'm not intending to scare you. I'm intending to give you a moment to pause and really sit with what is your body telling you. And if you have headaches and migraines, that is a body and a brain that is under stress. It is an energy crisis to the nervous system and to the vascular system. And if gone unchecked, if it's poo-pooed and said, oh, it's normal, then there are consequences down the road potentially of significance to your health. So I like, we're chiropractors. So we are looking at the structure. We're looking at your posture. We're looking at how your structure and the health of your spine is impacting the brain. So the importance of your neck and cervical spine. Restrictions in your cerebral blood flow. So your brain blood flow may occur from vessel narrowing, which is stenosis, so getting smaller, clot formation, which is thrombosis, blockage, which is an embolism, or blood vessel rupture, which is a hemorrhage. Lack of sufficient blood flow affects brain tissue and may cause stroke. Then we see correction of cervical lordosis is associated with immediate increase in your cerebral blood flow. So again, if you've got, let's just jump to the next slide here. We're talking about energy crisis to the brain. If you don't have that healthy curve in your cervical spine, that means it's impacting the nerves and it's impacting all the blood vessels that feed the brain. Okay, so again, if you follow this line that's on there, let me just pick a color here. If you follow this line right here, that is where the back of these vertebrae should line up. Okay, so this person is experiencing significant forward head carriage, so postural distortion where they're, and here's their posture picture. Their head is, an ear is way far forward of where their shoulder is. That should go right above, this shoulder should be, an anchor point for where their ear should be right here. So does this person with an unhealthy structure have an energy crisis to the brain? Could be both neurological and vascular, could be one or the other in terms of their symptomatology, but it's affecting both. Do they have headaches? Maybe. Could they potentially be someone who is, on their trajectory for MS or stroke or a heart problem 30 years down the road? Maybe. I don't know. But we've got to start looking at this as abnormal stress. Now, here's another person, very different posture that we're seeing. Let me clear my annotations here. Very different what we're seeing with this person. They've actually got a reversal of curvature. So again, the back of these vertebrae here should line up with this line here. Okay, so look right here. There's a reversal happening right here. I'm going to clear that. And let's see. So I want you to be able to see that. There's a reversal happening right there. So again, I want you to think about your structure here, this curve that I just drew in where the back of the vertebra should follow. That's what your spine should look like. It's like a banana, right? And when you start to straighten that banana, what happens to the fruit? You smash it. Your spinal cord runs right along your vertebra there, right in the back there where I drew those lines of where she is. And as you start to straighten that curve and even reverse it, what's happening to the cord? It's putting a ton of stress on that cord. So not only are we having neurological issues, but again, how's it impacting the vasculature? Maybe in this, case, we still see that forward head carriage, still see her forward. So that tells me that there's, potentially a vascular issue there. This is much more of a neurological concern versus when we see that forward head carriage that's pulling on everything. Let's look at one other person. Let's keep going here. Last one, the energy crisis to the brain. And here you see this person has a forward head carriage. Okay. I actually don't have their curve drawn in where it should be, but I want you to see when you look at the front of these vertebrae, you see bone that has laid down to create some stability within a structure. I'm going to point that out for you right here. So I liked okay, good. So again, I'm looking right here. He's way far forward of where his shoulder is. Here's his shoulder down here. Here's his ear right here. But look at, here's bony growth. And when you have forward motion and movement and compressive forces acting on that structure, your body will go in and build bone up to create stability. Again, not knowing anything about this person's health history, we have to look at how is this impacting the brain? And when it impacts the brain, it impacts the neurological system, the nervous system that's feeding that brain and signaling that brain, but also the vascular system. So you see these postures everywhere you go. Posture is a window into the brain. So if we see somebody who's got forward head carriage, okay, that indicates a brain that's under stress. And you can probably guess, do you think this is a person that experiences tension and tightness, potentially headaches? You can start to see the trajectory they are on that they might experience years down the road. Okay. And what's terrible is that this is happening with a younger generation because technology is such so integrated in our life, in everything. I mean, we had kids 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, sitting all day in class. They had recess and they were moving and outside and very active. So you had activity to counteract that stress. But what we're seeing is the extracurricular activities are around all of the technology. And so we're not getting the balance of activity with, technology use related to school and work and all of those things, right? They've really just blended. And so we're just not getting, so therefore we're seeing a lot of kids with this forward head carriage and almost like a rounding or a humpback. It's really scary to see some of these kiddos. And so when you see them, when you see people with these postural distortions, the first thing I think is energy crisis to the brain. Brain is under stress. They're not able to handle demands. They're on a trajectory that's not looking so good years down the road if they aren't already experiencing symptoms or pain. And somebody, I hope, is going to tell them that they need to get checked. They need to start addressing the distortion and stress that's showing up in their system. So what do most people do for headaches? Yeah, they take meds over the counter. If that's not doing the job, then we actually see prescription meds. So they're going to see their neurologist or doctor, and they're giving them prescription medications. Now, let's just go back real quick. What did I say contributed and caused headaches? Not a lack of pain meds. You know what I mean? But if this is all we're doing to address the pain and the symptom, then that's a problem, right? We need to really start to look at what is contributing to my current state. And in this case, we're talking about headaches. And a lot of times these overlap. It's a layered effect. So you could have forward head carriage and poor posture. Then you could add in the eye strain, and then you can add in, you're not drinking enough water, and you're smoking, you have poor sleep. I mean, it's a layered effect that contributes to your current state of health. So if we are only looking at managing the pain through over-the-counter, meds, ibuprofen, Tylenol, Motrin, or prescription medications, we are missing the mark. Yeah. So let's talk about some things that you can do. What most people should do for headaches. I want to start with hydration. And I'm talking hydration with water. If you're drinking juice, if you're drinking, alcohol, if you're drinking milk, that doesn't count, because your body has to do extra work to distill that down to get the water and hydration out of it. So you need to be drinking water. This is the simplest thing you can do. Most of us are not drinking enough water. By the time you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And a great way to measure, monitor if you're getting enough is just going to the bathroom. I mean, what color is your pee? Mm-hmm. If it's really dark and really smelly, you're not getting enough water. If it's light, not as smelly, you're probably getting enough water. And the rule of thumb is half your body weight in ounces. But if you live in a drier climate, if you live, a mile above sea level, if you're spending a lot of time outdoors, if you're more active, then you may need more. Right? So you just need to start considering what you're doing in terms of your hydration on a daily basis. Your body is made up of 60-70% water. Your brain is made up of a significant amount of water. Might be more than that. 70, I don't know. Can't remember what the stat is. It changes. It's a lot. And when you have that forward head carriage, those really top muscles and stressed muscles, they need hydration too. So just by giving your body hydration and water, you start to help alleviate some of that tension. But you help to bathe your cells in water that is vital for life. And if you're doing a lot of activity where you sweat a lot, you need to make sure you're getting electrolytes. It's easy to add fruit or herbs to your water, add salt, add lemon, add, they may have specific electrolyte packets that you can add to water. But sometimes if you're drinking, good job, Bert. Sometimes if you're drinking water and you're feeling like, oh man, I'm just thirsty, I'm not really retaining my water, you need to add something to it to allow your body to grab it up. And that's where an electrolyte is great. I don't love Gatorade. I don't love Powerade. Okay, so if you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna just power myself up with some Gatorade after my workout, just read the back of the Gatorade label and see if that has any good stuff for your body to recover. So I don't love those. You can simply add, and I actually make my own homemade salt mixture. And you want to get some good salt. I like Redmond salt. I think it's out of Salt Lake. But you can add, I have a mason jar. I add a ton of salt. I add water, and I let it sit overnight. And the water will, salt with the water will make its own salt water, and whatever the water isn't able to absorb, you'll see salt at the bottom. And I add a tablespoon of that in the morning to my water, drink it right away. And I actually add lemon as well to support my body absorbing some water right away in the morning. So it's really easy to do. It doesn't have to cost you a lot.
What's LMNT?
That's a brand.
Oh, I see.
Element, I think, is Element is the brand of electrolytes, or Redmond salt has electrolytes.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of them out there. These were just two that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Water is super easy. I mean, I'm saying, okay, you can make your own electrolytes, you can purchase your electrolytes, but water is free right now anyway. I mean, it's free. So you can easily add this to support, if you're feeling a headache. What most people should do for headaches: improve your posture. So neck mobility stretches, prioritize your workspace ergonomics. You know, assess, is your workspace working for you and how you're standing and your posture? And the gold standard for motion and movement is every 15 minutes. You should do a posture interruption. So if you are sitting at your desk 8-10 hours a day and you're not taking a break, know that you are training harder than a college or professional athlete in the sitting sport. You're training your body. Because I don't know any professional athlete who trains 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, 60 hours a week. And then they do it more because it's a part of their extracurricular activities. So when you say, man, it's just hard to, I just don't have motion movement. I'm like, yeah, because you are intensely training your body to be in this state all day long and you don't get out of it. And the stress and the consequences of that are so detrimental to your health. And according to some of the experts who look at sitting and how it impacts our health, you cannot undo the years of sitting. You can't undo that. Once you have that chronic stress in your structure and system, you can't undo that. So it's about being proactive and taking breaks. The gold standard is every 15 minutes. Interruptions. I'm not saying you have to go get water and take a 10-minute break. Interrupt your posture. The next best posture, well, the best posture is your next posture, right? And I put this in here, but stress can be a massive component of how we experience our bodies, headaches included. So how can you manage stress? Drinking water, doing posture interruptions, everything we're talking about is a way to manage stress, but it's also how can you dial in on what is the stress? You know, what is the thing that's going to help you manage that? I feel like manage stress is just kind of a bomb that you just drop in and say, well, manage stress. Well, okay. Right. But we have to recognize that we can only handle so much demand, and we get so much, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And so really looking at, okay, what is going on in my world and what do I need? What do I need to replace or take out? What do I need to add? And just start with one thing. I have to share this. What most people should do for headaches, they should get checked by a chiropractor, period. They will help address the structural stress of your head, your jaw, because sometimes you can have stuff coming from the jaw and the face, and the neck. Not only that, it supports your stress response and how you manage stress. It takes stress off of the brain, takes you from a crisis state to a vitalistic state. I tell you, everybody should be getting checked by a chiropractor if they show any distortion in their posture, period. So you can just assume that the postural disturbance, the spinal malalignments, the subluxation is just there for majority of people. And as long as that is there, it's going to be challenging for your brain and nervous system to integrate all these components that you do, because your brain is not getting the total signal, right? So this should just be what people do, is get checked. And when we talk about brain, there's something called neurofeedback. We have it in the office, but it is using sound and light therapy to help regulate your nervous system and regulate your brain. And it can help reduce feelings of tension, anxiety, and stress. And there's neurofeedback where you can do breath work. There's CDs that you can put on that is music that just helps you regulate things. So you don't have to have the cool stuff that we do. There's stuff that you have at home that can be really cool, or stuff on YouTube. And let's just focus on your breath work. Kind of like Dr. Kristen talked about last week when we talked about healthy and strong back. She got into the breath work, right? What should most people do for headaches? Exercise. Exercise releases your own natural painkillers called endorphins, which produce happy feelings. It also improves your mood. And exercise strengthens your musculoskeletal system, your cardiovascular system, and your respiratory system. And you don't need to go to a gym for exercise. I don't want you to think about, oh, I got to get on this exercise program. It's got to be very, buttoned up and very, very specific and regimented and all of that. No. Just need to start moving your body. And the best way to do that is walking. If you do 30 minutes of brisk walking 3 times a week, that's a great start. Walking is one of the best things you can do. Get you out, get you sunshine, gets fresh air, you start breathing, and you go, oh, I want some water, right? Like, so and open up, then you see your neighbors, and like, oh, feel pretty good. I'm connecting, right? I'm connected to my world. So, and it connects you to your body. So again, great thing you can do for headaches. What most people should do for headaches, if you want to look into some dietary type supplementation, magnesium is a great option, whether it's used topically or internally. Magnesium sulfate is actually great for muscles. Epsom salt's a great source of magnesium. So when you soak in Epsom salt and that heat for 20 minutes, your body absorbs that magnesium, it relaxes you, takes the tension away. Can be really great. Take a bath 3 times a week, cup to 2 cups of Epsom salt. If you're not a bath person, then it's worth it, especially if you have any type of musculoskeletal thing, stress, headaches. It's worth it to just give it a try. Improve your sleep quality, both your routine and relaxing and switching off. I think a lot of people go straight from work or the TV or on their phone to now I want to sleep. Like, no, you gotta switch off and then prepare your body for rest and sleep. Create a positive environment for that and have a healthy sleep posture. And what helps with sleep is magnesium glycinate, which we a lot of times recommend here for your body, because if you're holding a lot of tension, magnesium glycinate can really be wonderful. And you can do magnesium blends that help multiple ways. So, and then in terms of sleep quality, setting a time for getting up same time every day. And again, we have workshops on all of these things that go into much more detail. But if you just start adding these pieces in, it can help with your headaches because you're starting to change the health of your body. That's what a headache is. It's a signal that something's wrong. And we don't want to just unplug the signal and, check engine light goes on in your car. You don't want to just say, hey, why is that light on? Take it out. Let's take out that light. We don't need to know about that. Are you crazy? But that's what we do all day long with headaches and our pains. Oh, we want to get rid of that signal. What is that there for? It's annoying. Get rid of it. But when you start doing these things to help improve your health, your body doesn't give you those same signals anymore. So that's where I'm going to end is, and there's a lot of great resources, by the way, but I just want to end here with my slide about who do you know that needs to get checked? Really? This is not about us. Dr. Kristen and I cannot do it alone. Thank goodness we have Jesse and Kayla here to support us, but we can't do it alone. This is your community. This is your friends, your families, your colleagues. We can't do it alone. And we need your help to help support the health of our community. We know the more people who are in conversations like this to uplift the thinking and to start creating different lens to view the world and view their body and health are going to start making different choices. So you can invite somebody to a workshop or send them the recording. Or you're going to listen to the recording while they're there. Then they don't have a choice, right? And you can even go one step further and send them in and get checked. It doesn't cost anybody anything to get checked. And then at least they have the choice to move forward or say, no, that's not my thing. But at least they've gotten checked. At least they know it's an option. And the seed has been planted. And there have been people who they say, somebody gave me your card 2-3 years ago, and here I am. Now's the time. So you never know when that seed will take. But that's my challenge to you is who do you know that we can support in experiencing a healthier, more vitalistic state? That we can shift their trajectory. Again, going back to that research. The second single most biggest indicator that somebody could have a heart attack is a migraine with an aura. That's massive. Or, is a migraine associated with a stroke or MS? We want to get people before that, so they're not even on that trajectory, right? So thank you for being with me here tonight. We really appreciate your engagement. We look forward to hearing your feedback from us and from this conversation. And yeah, we'll see you next week. So we love and appreciate you.
Love you too.
Joe, we love you. And everybody on here.